Welcome to another sample CKA test video by the Azure Guy. I am an Azure Administrator, Azure Engineer, Azure Solution Architect, as well as a Certified Kubernetes Application Developer. Sample Test Question 9. Configure a node to auto-start a pod. I'm giving this sample question a skill level of difficult. This question falls under the workloads and scheduling part of the CKA curriculum. In particular, when creating a new pod, the Kubernetes scheduler places the object on an available node. The question. Configure your node, worker 2 or worker 3, depending on if you have a worker 3, use that one. If you only have a 3-node cluster, use worker 2. I'll be using worker 2 in this example. To automatically start a pod using an image of Nginx, use a default location. Let's get started. One of the keys to successfully completing this question is to realize that the question is really looking for static pods. And you may or may not know, static pods, unlike normal pods, are not managed by the control plane, but they are managed by kubelet. So the first question is to find the default location that kubelet is looking for to manage such pods. And I never could find any documentation. The way I remember is, I know, you got to know a little about Kubernetes. I know it's done by kubelet. So I'm going to say, and look for kubelet. And you have two choices here, and the one we want here is a config YAML file. So if we do, notice I am on worker 2, because that is where I want to have the pod auto start on. So I'm on worker 2 already. So sudo vim, I'm going to take this here, copy. And if I scroll down, you will see all kinds of cool information in here. And sometimes I just want to browse in here to see what's in here. But what we're looking for is static pod path right here. So now we now know this is where we need to create the YAML file to create our pod. And this is why this is step 1. Alright, so let's move on to step 2. Okay, I'm in my directory that was defined in the config.yaml file. So the next thing to do is to create the YAML file to create our. So I'm in the Kubernetes documentation, and now that I know to search for static pods as opposed to auto start pods or anything like that, I'm probably going to find better information. And here we go. I have a sample pod to create. It's even using Nginx. What a great example. So I'll come here and I'll say vim autopod.yaml. I'm going to put sudo in front of that. And I'll do a paste. I don't really see a reason to change anything. The name is fine. It didn't say call it anything in our example. So I'll do an escape, right. Looking pretty good. And now if I go back to my master, Let me clear my screen. Do CQL get pods. Drum roll. There I see my static worker. Now let me point something out. If you wanted to put, we use a default directory because I thought it was a fun way to introduce finding the default location. If you're asked or need to in a workplace environment to put it in a different location, for example, here their example, they're putting it in EDC Kubernetes kubelet. Before you see it start it, you might need to restart the kubelet process or pod, or well, I'm not sure. I'm not sure you refer to that. Maybe process, I think, is a good word. The kubelet process. But we didn't need to do that in this case because we were using a default location. And you can see it's running. And if I did a kubectl delete pod, you can see it's pending and running again. So excellent.